and welcome to another edition of Sports Select Sports Talk, where this week I'm joined by Mike Krykewich. The snow is gone. We're talking baseball. At least the snow is gone for now. I'm crossing fingers at this point. So let's hope it's gone for a while. Mike, how you doing? Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks very much for having me. Thanks.
So you started the season with a bit of I say a bit of a road trip, but it's been an extensive road trip, and it's just going to keep on going until at least April 14th. The trip has produced a few more losses than wins. Have you guys been able to take out some positives from that?
Oh, absolutely. I think our first trip to Minneapolis was really an eye-opener right there, just for the guys to see college baseball. You know, as it is right off the start. Our second trip, you know, that we went to just down to Yankton, we actually played at NAIA school down there in a series. So we played two junior varsity games at the beginning on Friday, and two varsity ones Saturday and Sunday, and we have one win out of that. But you know, we're developing, because that would be our fourth game in a regular season, where you know they have had about 12 since they've had a spring trip to go to Arizona. So.
What were your expectations going into that the kind of schedule that you guys had? You know, it's tough to kind of jump in and kind of just go, I don't know. You know, I don't know what we're going to come up against other than level of competition being stiff. What were you kind of thinking going into that first game? I really thought that,
you know, the way after we played, I really thought that minus a couple plays here and there, we could have been 500, I think, playing there. That would have been, I think that would have been realistic. As you well know, some things don't, you know, exactly fall into place, but that's kind of a realistic goal that we had.
Okay. I guess your first home game, April 14th at Shaw Park, Wesmen.ca. You can see the rest of their schedule as well. But that's the big home opener for you guys. Part of that, obviously, being the weather, of course, is the reason for one of the big road trip at the start of the year. With the way the weather has been, though, it's been a bit warmer. Have you guys been able to get outside, or have you been primarily stuck in Duckworth?
Well, last week we got out twice. You know, it wasn't on baseball diamonds, but we found some soccer fields to go to. One day we ended up at Provencher Park there. So we took advantage of some of that time. We've had two outdoor ones, and we hope to get a few more. You know, the weather today hasn't been great, you know, with the wet. So grass is pretty fragile too, so we're finding as much space as we can outside.
And I guess that might have been a bit of an adjustment for you guys too, going from, say, practicing taking grounders on a gym floor to the ground, which is, you know, it's no knock on the greenskeeping and all that kind of, and the groundwork, but you know, obviously not completely flat like a gym floor. Was that something that maybe caused an error or two?
Well, it might have, because I think the guys just didn't see balls off bat. You know, they've seen it off with me with a fungal, but it's a lot different as far as it traveling to home plate and things like that, and that might have contributed, you know, to some of it. You know, they're feeling a real ball. You know, in the Duckworth we're using the flexi ball, which is a model baseball, but that's what you have to work with, you know.
Of course. And so how much is the team looking forward to having, you know, someone come here to Winnipeg to play, as opposed to hopping on the bus for, you know, an extensive bus ride? You talk about going to St. Paul. That's, you know, what's that, 8.5 hours, something like that?
Well, it was, I would tell you right now, the guys are probably quite accustomed to going on the bus. They're probably looking forward to going on another one. But being at home is going to be fantastic. I think the guys are, after I think our third trip that we go on, they're going to be really pumped up about the 14th, 15th at Shaw. Yeah.
And you know, talk about what it's going to be like to kind of play at Shaw Park. Obviously, the home of the Winnipeg Gold Eyes as well. You guys excited to be sharing a home with them?
Well, absolutely. You know, it's one of the best parks, minor league parks around in North America. I think it's a big thrill for the other schools to come up and play there, but we're really excited for us to have our home games there. For
sure. Now let's talk about the team itself. We've kind of talked about some background about the team. Let's move to the team itself, since viewers in Winnipeg may not be familiar with the Wesmen baseball team. When we talked earlier in the year, you mentioned starting pitching would be important. Talk to me about the different looks that pitchers kind of give batters.
Well, I think the thing is it really comes down to some of the experience. Some of our older guys might have a repertoire of 2 or 3 pitches. Some of our younger guys are developing pitches, kind of like they've been doing in the off season. So a lot of our guys would try to maybe slow pace, in between. They might want to quick pitch guys, you know, and they want to fall into patterns. And, you know, if they follow some specific patterns where a guy can't handle a certain pitch, they want to try and do those things also.
And you talk about learning pitches even at this level. What are the kind of the tougher pitches for pitchers to learn how to throw?
Well, right now, guys have a fastball, you know, then some are developing what you call maybe sliders or tighter curveballs, but they need movement on their pitches. And the thing is right now is, you know, 83, 82 miles an hour straight is just like hitting it off the tee for a lot of these college guys. So they have to develop some movement, some cutters, and some change of pace pitches to keep the batters off.
You know what, I was in a pitching simulator down, we were in the States somewhere, and the hardest I could throw was 64, so I can't even imagine 82 coming at me or even leaving my hands. So let's move into the outfield. Who are your starters out there, and are they primarily speed guys, or what are you looking for out there?
Well, right now we've got Josh Drews in the outfield, and we've got Josh Drews in center field, and Brett Hesselwood in left, and Paul Estevez in right. But it moves around quite a bit because the NAIA allow re-entry rules. So if a guy's a strong hitter and a little weaker defensively, I can roll another player in there to have that free substitution. So, you know, we had a little bit of difficulty at the beginning of the series in Yankton, a little bit of fielding because we haven't had some experience with fly ball and some of the communication issues. But by game 4, those guys were they were pretty tight on their defense.
Another place, obviously, you need that kind of close-knit feeling is the infield, where you're trying to turn double plays and everything like that. Talk about your infield. Some guys that are kind of some standouts that people watching the Wesmen can look for.
Well, it's our quarterback right in the infield is our shortstop, Wes Pomeranski. Wes is one of our older guys on the team, and a calming force in the infield. He basically takes charge of that. Nick Drews plays second base. We have Jamison Krentz that flips either corner. He could play first or third, and we've also got Justin Voth playing at third base also. He also does some catching for us. So we have got some guys that have some utility aspects for our infield, but our cornerstone is really Wes there at shortstop.
Because the Wesmen are such the baseball team anyways is such a new team, is that something that you're looking for when you're putting a team together, that kind of versatility, especially when you're trying to put a lineup together, or are you more looking for guys that are more specialists?
Well, as the program, I think, develops, we want more specialty. But, you know, at the beginning of this program, we like to have as many talented multi-use players, utility type players as much as we can. It really comes down to your recruiting on what you have. You know, we've got some guys that are specifically pitchers, but we also have some guys that are pitchers that might pitch game 3 in a series and carry the outfield duties for the first 2.
Oh, okay, interesting. Offensively, the team has scored 23 runs in 12 games. Is that a credit to the pitching the team has faced, or are the bats just a little bit cold right now?
Well, I would say it's the bats are cold right now. I think if you looked at our last 2 games that we had in Yankton, we had a substantial number of hits. We had 9 hits and 6 hits. We had 15 hits over that time. And those last 2 games, coming up with a win there against Mount Marty, 6-5 in our last game. So I think it's a matter of us just getting our lineup together and playing consistently. So we've had 4 games together with it. You know, we get 12 games together, and I think it'll be pretty sharp.
Exciting times for sure. We'll move to some quick hitters. That's what I'm going to call them. A nice little play on baseball words, anyways. Who on the team pulls the most pranks on the road?
Well, it's pretty tough, but I think right now we had some good pranks on the road when some guys fell asleep. But it looked like birthday boy Ryan Cuddy had something going last trip that was pretty funny.
Most quiet.
Brian Evans, one of our starting pitchers, doesn't talk much, but talks very well on the diamond with his performance.
I keep thinking about back when I was coaching minor hockey, and I don't know if I could have answered who's the most quiet on my team, so I knew that would be kind of a tougher one. What about the team has surprised you this year?
Well, I think off an injury, Drew Haight is really impressed because he had a separated shoulder and he went down and yanked, and then, you know, he hit about 500 down there. And for him not to see the bats and the cage work, he's been a pleasant surprise.
All right, and best way to pass the time on long bus trips?
Movies.
Movies, yeah?
Absolutely, it's movies right now. The guys just roll them over and over, and before you know it, we're at the border.
Mostly baseball movies because, you know, you got to get fired up?
Some, but some are you know, some are just crazy. You know, language somewhat different, but you know, it's okay.
And you know what? The MLB season hasn't quite started yet. Obviously, there's still the spring training and on some preseason games going on. But if you had to pick your early season favorite, we'll end the show with this one. Who is your early season favorite?
Well, I picked the Phillies right away, starting pitching, but I really want the Jays. I'd really love the Jays to win based on their preseason, but I picked the Phils, but, you know, it's probably not the right pick.
You know what? And I was going to say, from the words of Mike Krykewich, pick the Phillies, but, you know, even he's a little bit shaky on it. Obviously, fans in Canada, the majority anyways, are hoping that the Blue Jays can come through. I know Rudy Gower, one of the camera guys here at Shaw, is one of those guys. He apparently fist pumped. He took to Twitter and he said that he fist pumped during a preseason game off of a strikeout. So obviously he's ready for the season to begin, as I'm sure you guys are ready for your home opener April 14th. Mike Krykewich, thanks for joining us on Sports Select Sports Talk, and we will see you next week.